welcome back. My name is Jeff Harrison. We are at the Twisted, Bent, Exhausted Entrepreneur Podcast Studios, and I'm here with my...
You have a studio. See behind you? It looks like a studio. Do you see mine? It looks like a mess.
She's working,
that's how
baby.
I operate.
She's working. Yeah. I bet if we look close, there's probably a little dirt under fingernails because she's working. Me?
I have no dirt on my...
Yeah.
No.
Oh, sorry. Okay. That's probably not a good thing to
But
say.
I
to a
do
woman.
multitask, and there's crap everywhere. So,
hey, if you're just joining us, we both are entrepreneurs, and we're kind of been doing it a while. I've been doing just my Swing Point Media, which is a digital marketing agency, and we help local businesses get more customers using content marketing, now laced and heavily laced with AI and automation. Mm-hmm. And so we don't say we're experts at it, but we're pretty damn good at it. And we've been doing it for about 15 years. Leslie, tell us a little bit about yourself, you little serial entrepreneur, you.
Oh, my goodness. Well, I have two businesses. I have Executive Errands and Concierge Business Solutions. And my background is all heavily corporate, coming out of aerospace and defense operations manufacturing. And so I have way more years than I care to share in running a company and business processes and stuff like that. So I've sort of come full circle from aerospace, where I help people pick business operating software, implement it, write procedures, and do all that stuff, to Concierge Business Solutions, where I have my own software and I write procedures for people and do business assessments and things like that. But Executive Errands is my lifestyle management company, which I've had for 20 years. And CBS I've had for probably, I want to say 10 or 12, something like that, where I formalized that. It's 12 years, something like that. But the software has been going since 2007. So it's pretty mature. But yeah, we both have combined, we're like, a whole huge company.
We're old.
We are old. That is true. Hey, some days I feel twisted, bent, and exhausted.
Hey, are you familiar with that show with Billy Bob Thornton, Landman?
Oh my God, I love that show.
I love that show. Well, often I'll use this when I'm speaking. I'll say, hey, I'm just a kid from West Texas. I keep things pretty simple. Well, if you realize that show is shot in West Texas, in Midland, Odessa, that's where I grew up. So you kind of get a flavor. When I'm saying that, that's what I mean. There's a lot of roughnecks out there. There's a lot of drilling. There's a lot of fighting. There's a lot of cussing. There's a lot of that stuff. And there's a lot of money out there, right?
How did you avoid the oil business?
My dad said, don't ever do that. And I just got, I was heavily involved in sports when I grew up. And so I was baseball playing. I did really well in baseball. And then I got into golf and never looked back. And that was like my way out of the hood. It was golf, right? The golf.
Oh my
hood.
goodness.
Yeah.
Did you play professionally for a while?
I did.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I mean, I thought you did, but I wasn't sure.
I did it. Yeah, I did it in college, and then I played on the tour for a couple of years, and then I went into the business, and then I went back out on the tour and realized, okay, I really do need to get a job.
You didn't get a green blazer?
I didn't get a green. No. I played in a lot of really cool tournaments, and I'm really blessed. And it's a life behind me now, but. Anyway, that's a lot of fun. Today, Leslie, I want to talk about something that I think we're at this precipice where there's absolutely two different worlds that are starting to overlap. I don't want to say merge, but it's almost like lines on a graph when they cross. We're really, really close to that. And some of this can be very, very confusing. And one of them is, I'll call it, for lack of better terms, because nobody has labeled this, so this could be me. It's the SEO world and it's the AEO world. The SEO world is search engine optimization. Normally, it's dominated by a big player. We all know it, Google. And AEO, and it's been I termed this phrase, this three-letter word, back in about February of 2025, and nobody had ever heard of it. Right. Now it's called a lot. I called it artificial engine optimization, and people call it answer engine optimization. But the point is, it's using AI. And what I want to specifically talk about today and really unpack today, Leslie, and with your help and conversation, is understanding who your ideal customer is. And before you jump in and say, "Oh, I know exactly who my customer is," I want to share something with you.
Okay.
Right now, in March of 2025, Elon University found that 52% of adults say they use large language models like ChatGPT. And what does that mean? That means that 52% of the people who use it and they use it for search don't see the SEO model.
Mm-mm. Right.
They see the AEO model. But unfortunately, about 95% of our world is built on the SEO model. Meaning, if I want to sell something to somebody, tell me who the end user is. Like, as an example, if I'm an HVAC company and I put air conditionings and I do repair, who's my end user? Who's my target market? And I do it for residential.
Are you asking me?
I'm asking you. Yeah. It's an
Somebody who
interactive
lives in
thing.
a hot climate.
Okay. But a homeowner, right?
Yeah.
Okay. That works in an SEO world. But in an AEO world, it doesn't work. Do you know why?
No, I do not. Share with me.
Because in an AEO world, like those 52% of US adults, that's about how many? 175, 180 million people. It looks at data. And it's deciding for you who is that best HVAC company for me to put in front of you that will solve your problem. And to put it in context, there's a cute little example. If you look at a baby and it has a poopy diaper and you sell diapers, who's your ideal client, the baby or the parents?
Well, the parents.
Right now, the parents in this situation is AEO. You got to be making your content for AEO. And it's totally different than SEO. So when we talk about who your ideal client is, we were talking off screen and you said, "Oh, I do this all the time. I'll teach this stuff." Was this a surprise that I'm not writing for the homeowner? I'm writing for the engine that decides who I'm going to put it in front of.
Okay.
That's totally different.
So I'm trying to think about a newsletter, how that changes the newsletter. Do I need more statistics in there? Do I need more?
100%. If you think about, let's use the example AEO, answer engine optimization.
Mm-hmm.
What that means is it needs to have frequently asked questions. Like if you woke up and you said, "Okay, I'm going to start a frequently asked questions," and everything anyone over the last 15 years, 20 years have asked me about absentee homeownership, I need to make sure it's on my website. And you might say, "Well, Jeff, I have an FAQ." Is it every question you've ever done? And is it actually on its own standalone page? And does it have FAQ schema? In other words, that's the kind of stuff that can be seen and understood by the AE models that the SEO models are not looking for. It's not working. So you have to be careful in who you make your content for and what kind of content you put out. This was a surprise to me because many, many years ago, when I first started, and you remember Amy, our big deal was video. We're video first because it ranks so highly. I mean, we could literally get somebody ranked on the first page of Google. We could shoot a video in the morning, in the afternoon, they're number one in their industry.
Right.
Well, here's the thing. Did you know, Leslie, that the artificial engines they can't even read a video. They can't even look at a video.
Not yet.
It's too expensive. They don't have it. So if you're a business that's solely dependent on video, you could get excluded from even being found online by those 52% of US adults that are using ChatGPT. Wow. Oh, wait. What about if you're a podcaster? Hello, you and me.
Yeah.
Doesn't read audio. Doesn't.
Then how do we market the podcast?
Here's how it happens.
Uh-oh. He's
Here's how it
smiling. This means
happens.
he's excited.
Every video we make, and this is why when I hear people say, "Oh, I'm not interested in content because content marketing is dead."
Oh, no, it's not.
I'm sorry. Content right now is so much more important than it's ever been. But the difference is this content has to be written a certain way. It can't be written with a chest beating situation where I do this and I do that. I do this. No. Using that example of frequently asked questions, statistics, like putting prices when you can. Even if you can't, if it's a range, give the range because it's seeking answers. Because as an example, if I put in there, well, how much does a new air conditioning cost if it's 5 tons and it's for a 2,500 square foot home? This is the kind of stuff we're putting in search engines for artificial, like ChatGPT. Well, if you never put any of that information in a blog or in your FAQs, you will never show up. You see why?
That's
Because your ideal customer is not me, the homeowner, it's the engine. Because the engine is actually saying, let me look at all the content out there, decide what really solves this problem the best, this question the best. That's the answer I'll give.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know. One of the searches I do through using that as a deep research search on when I'm helping somebody in another, obviously they're all in other cities. I'm looking for their competitors, for example, and I lay out the prompt with all the criteria for identifying the competitors, the most closely service-wise competitors to them. And it does a great deep dive. So I understand what you're saying about looking for people out there that have data on their sites. However, do you think it'll advance to the point where it does read video?
Well, I think so. But do you want to wait until that occurs?
No. I'll be long dead by then. So no.
just this morning, I, every week I meet with my staff and I said, okay, this is what I want you to do. I want you to kind of put a pause on making any new content for Swing Point Media. I make hundreds and hundreds of videos. And I want you to go back and get all of those transcribed and put that transcription out into the ether on my website. She says, well, where do you want to put this? She said, do you want to have it exposed or like a hidden link, but it's there? Well, I want it to be, I said, at the end of the day, I don't really care. I just want it there because the more data, what it does is it proving to the search engine, because artificial intelligence also wants to see that, hey, you are an expert. You have authority. You've got deep information. The more we can put out there, Leslie, the better we'll show up when people start searching locally for your business. And I think that's really, really key.
How does that relate to the AEO optimization we do for my blog posts, for example?
Well, with your blog post, that's exactly what we're doing. We're already doing that for you. So your blog posts are already written for artificial intelligence to be not only, and here's the thing, if it's written for AEO, it's searchable for SEO. So you're not getting one or the other. But if you only do SEO, AEO does, it's like it can't hear you. It's in a different room.
Understood. Yeah. I'm not talking about the blog posts that you guys write for me. I'm talking about my newsletters that we convert into blog posts. How are they affected?
How are they affected?
Right. You're optimizing them for AEO as well.
Correct.
So are they searchable from the AEO bots then?
Certainly. You bet.
Okay.
You bet.
All right. So even though they may not have statistics in them, keywords and things are being picked up.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And here's the other thing. You just said something like keywords. Keywords don't have the weight they used to, like absentee home, right? That's a keyword phrase. Well, now that's why they call it answer engine optimization, because we put out this question. Hey, I'm running in the turkey trot in Palm Desert on the 24th. I'm looking for shoes that have really good arch support, but also if I ran a 5K and I only run this, what would it be? And all of a sudden, see, those aren't keywords. That's intent. That's leading information. Well, if I put that into a chat, like an LLM, like ChatGPT, have any of that information on your website, you only have keywords, sorry, probably not going to get returned as an option.
This should really be PEO.
Why is that?
Prompt engine optimization. Because that's what you're saying, right? You're saying that it's the prompt, it's the question that's being asked that drives you to the result.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it really should be PEO, but
yeah.
Okay.
And the other thing is, I just want to go through a quick list of things that make your blog. Let's just say blogs for a second, okay? Because that's really the most data rich. And this is why, I decided, probably 10 years ago, I said, hey, I'm going to make sure I write blogs. Blogs will have the most valid, whether it's search engine and it's keywords, or it's questions, like the questions people might ask, the keyword phrases, if you will. Those are in the blog post. So the first one is a clear, unambiguous topic. And what that means, it says, I'm going to read this. I'm looking away. LLMs reward content that can be confidently categorized. If the post is about how often should I service my AC in Palm Desert, it must stay about that. No drifting, no cute detours. That's almost like saying it's a bait and switch. No money down for this car, but when you show up, oh, well, the license fees, and it's $3,000 before you get out the door. No, you have to stay on topic. If we're talking about, this topic, off on some other tangent, because that's an unambiguous topic. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Also, direct question-shaped headings. LLMs gravitate to question answer formats. This is why I said, hey, your FAQs are really important, because it mirrors human queries. Like, how long does an AC last? Is a lithium golf cart battery safe? Use an H2 and H3 headings that look like, and you can't see this, what does a home watch service actually check for? Hello, that's you, Leslie. Yeah, is a tankless water heater worth it in the Coachella Valley? Like, these are very specific things. And the reason it matters is because the LLMs match questions to your answer blocks. A clean match is higher citation possibility. In other words, it's going to use you in your answer. Can you see how all of a sudden now, oh, wait a minute, I am not selling diapers to the baby who pooped its pants. I'm selling to the parent who has to make that decision. The decision maker now is actually the LLM.
Yeah, I understand that. When you first said ideal client, I was thinking of it in a different context. I think that diapers, just to use your metaphor, diapers, or example, have always been marketed to the parents. But in this context, you're saying that you have to, the data that the content that you're creating needs to be, this diaper is 50% more soft than that one, or causes 20% less diaper rash, or is better for overnight in 95% of children, because, something like that. No?
Nope.
What? Say to me.
It could be, as an example, a child who goes to the bathroom in their pants, an infant, one of the biggest thing is leakage.
Right.
So you would ask a question, hey, what diaper is best to avoid leakage around their legs?
Right.
Right. And then in the answer, you could talk about things like you just described, but that's not the headline. That's what I'm saying. It has to be more question-based. Okay. How can I, is there a diaper out there that overnight doesn't slip down and cause a mess in the bed? Right. That's a more specific type of answer or question we're talking about, that the headline is, and then your answer has to be on that. Now, what does that mean with blog posts? Well, it could mean now blog posts don't have to be as long. We've lived in a world where the average length blog that gets the highest traffic is around 22 to 2,500 words. Well, to answer that might only take 500. It might only take 300. That's okay now. It doesn't have to be 1,000 to 1,200. Like that's kind of been our happy zone, if you will, about 1,000, 1,200 words. You can answer it faster than that, possibly. right? But it may now link to another article for your inside there, from one to the next, from the waist to the leg to the absorbency, whatever.
Excuse me. Oh,
All right.
oh sorry.
All right.
I put oxygen in my head and it makes me yawn.
There you go. She's used to
um,
talking more than this. You guys know that.
I know you're not letting me talk. No, it's okay. I'm trying to absorb what you're saying. Diapers absorb. Never mind.
50% more.
Yeah. Does that mean you can change them? No. Okay. No. No, I had a question. So I've been doing my newsletters around 750 words. So that's still effective, right?
If it's doing what we just talked about, right?
Yeah,
right. We've only talked about two things: clear and ambiguous topic, direct question shaped headings, right? So you think about that. What are my headings?
Question shaped headings. Okay.
And
I'm making notes.
Yeah. And I'll share this with you. As an example, I'll share something that it really surprises people when I do their email marketing, and they come to me and they have 25% open, and then we get 40, 50, 60, 70% open rate. The reason is because I just basically changed that. It's unambiguous title, and it's usually a question that they'll be asking that they want to know the answer, right?
Yep.
Well, that is powerful when it comes to writing content as well. Whether it's a video, whether it's a blog, whether it's a podcast, same thing, right? So the other one is GEO relevance, right? It's a new killer signal. And this is the one that most blog posts missed. And it says LLMs prioritize location-aware content when the topic has local intent. HVAC, pest control, golf car sales, medical process, absentee homeowners include the city, the region, climate factors unique to that location, like the desert heat, whatever it might be, the specific customer type, right? That they're snowbirds. These are all, it's a new signal, GEO. And most, if not everybody I know, they miss that. They never talk about that. And you could do that. You could put that in your title as well. What's the best HVAC replacement for my home in Indio, California, right?
Yeah.
So
I've noticed that my questions have changed in that way too. It's sort of been an evolution where how you used to, and I don't know if it's just normal for me or if everybody's experiencing this, but the way I ask questions has differed. Even when I'm using a browser instead of AI, I ask the questions differently, and the results are more targeted to the response. So you're right. And in this, I didn't really consciously notice that, but for sure that's how it's going.
That's a cognitive skill set that's been developed, because when we talk to people who they've just tried ChatGPT, answers are terrible.
Yeah.
That's because your questions are terrible. And I don't mean that in a negative way. That's just the ignorance of not knowing what you know, which is if you ask better questions, you get better results. And that's one of the benefits of this is like, it's a trial and error, right? It's like sharpening the blade of your questioning. Is the better the questions, the better the answers. And all of a sudden somebody says, well, it takes me like 5 tries to get an email made. I'm like, we write 1,200 word blogs and we get it right the very first time. It's because of our input. So it goes back to what you said. It needs to be changed to prompt engineering, right?
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying is that I can now, because I have so much content loaded, I can now say a few sentences and get exactly what I want from something. Or sometimes I have to frame it with, when I have it review my blood work, for example, my test results, I will say, you're the world's best diagnostician. Analyze this. I upload it, right? Analyze this and in English, in layman's terms, tell me what you see. Yeah. And it works really well for stuff. I mean, yes, you have to phrase the things properly to get the right results.
100%. Well, in this example of the GEO, it says the example is, hey, in Palm Desert's hot summer and cool winter nights, then give the rest of it instead of saying in hot climates. See, that's just too vague. And I'll give you a specific example that we got caught on is in our content marketing machine or a content accelerator, when it comes to generating images, we said we live in the desert of Southern California, and we kept getting images that were like, wait a minute, this is Middle East. We're not in the Sahara.
Right.
Well, so what we had to do is we had to get better at prompting that, and then also putting negative prompts in there about where we didn't want. And now the quality of the images have gone through the roof. So it happens with all of us, right? We just had to say, hey, this is not what we want. Let's go back to what we're asking.
Yeah.
So,
I noticed that too, that if you don't give it enough, now it has to start coming back and saying to me, well, once you clarify this, this, and this, I can do this for you. Now, I don't know if everybody's getting that kind of feedback, but I am. So it'll say, do you want to make this funnier? Do you want this? Are you talking about, and one of the things I've started doing too, which is interesting, maybe you'll find it interesting, maybe you won't, I don't know, but is that, yeah, is that I now say because it knows that I want to either address executive errands or CBS, right? It knows that right away. Now I say, I'm doing a 5-day challenge for a company in X, and I'm looking for professional organizations for this. I name the company that this company can join for marketing and networking efforts. And I want to focus on real estate, or I want to focus on building management or whatever. And then it will bring up for me the exact data I need under those parameters for that company. Because I used to do it like I was just asking it the question, well, I want competitors in Albuquerque, New Mexico for this kind of a business. And it thought I was trying to find them for concierge business solutions or executive errands. And so now I tell it it's for this company, and it recognizes that I'm trying to help somebody else, which is really cool because it's less work for me because I get exactly what I want first. And it's also, it's not messing up my content that it knows, my knowledge base that, you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's not tainting that.
And I'm going to toss something out. You may already do this, so forgive me if you already do this, but because you work with people globally, what I would do is when you know the name of that person's company, I would go into ChatGPT, and in the plus area, you can do deep research and say you want to do deep research on this company. And then once you do deep research on that company, it will give you sometimes 10 or 15 pages of documentation on that company, and then share that back into a different chat and say, now you want to do that research for that area. And its quality of answers will come back off the charts.
I haven't tried that, but that's a good idea.
It's scary delicious. So
scary delicious.
I want to wrap up this point 3 about GEO and why it matters. Location specificity gives the model confidence you are answering the local version of the question, not a generic version. And see, I really want to drive this point home, because a lot of times when people put something out there, they're trying to catch as many fish in the net as possible. That's the old SEO way. The AEO way says, wait a second, if you're asking for some help in Palm Desert or Indio, California, and your content doesn't specifically talk about that, I'm not going to reference it. I'm not going to cite it. It's called a citation. I'm not going to use it. You're missing that opportunity. So I would say, with the things we're talking about, Leslie, and those people listening, go back and look at your content. Because like I told my staff this morning, I don't want to make any new content. Let's go back and make sure what we have these assets in them and make them better, because we never made any bad content, but we can make it better. Right. So keep that in mind.
Well, and I, using your HVAC example, I know that because we replace them for people all the time. So I know that the emission and efficiency requirements are higher for the Southwestern United States than they are in other parts of the country. And so that not only does that make our stuff more expensive, but it's more designed for our specific climate. Absolutely. So using this exact location, make sure that you get the right information because if you don't, and you get somewhere for the Midwest or somewhere for back east where the climate is completely different, it may not even be to code for out here. Right. So you really have to think more specifically. And that makes sense to me.
Yeah. This next one is, I think is probably one of the most powerful, and the one that it's often called structured data. Clear definitions and labeled sections. A lot of times people will write a blog and it'll be one long post, and you might put some headers in there, but you use the same size text. Well, those are not definition of new sections. So some of the things is LLMs love structure. They're like your best friend who's very organized. You can open up their drawers and everything has a place, right? It's all defined. Well, they don't love walls of text. They like things broken down into micro sections. So like every one of our blogs that we create for people, at the top, it has like a definition of, hey, what's going on? So if there's some terms in there, or maybe what to expect, but you can have definition, symptoms, causes, costs, steps, recommendations. And these help define sections, and it's easier for the LLMs to extract that. And quite frankly, it's almost like using your example last time you were talking about having those lights when you're bringing an airplane.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's very clear. You're much more visible. So make sure you have clearly defined and labeled sections, not just a wall of text. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. Well, I've used pictures in the same way. Right. And for years that I've been doing newsletters for 20 years for my company. And for 10 years before that, I did them for the company I worked for. And I've always used pictures to break up the text, because human beings you really can't absorb a wall of text. It has to be broken up, either with headers, like you said, or photographs, or some lines, some kind of delineation that lets your eyes focus. Otherwise, you just can't absorb it properly. I'm sure there are people, I can't say all people, I'm sure there's some people that can, but even, the best of us need a break to look at it. Just like a meeting, group meeting needs to be 45 minutes or until you have a break, because after 45 minutes, your attention span goes, right?
Well, that came up with is about 40 to 45 minutes, because after that, your butt goes to sleep.
Is that what it is?
That's what it is.
Well, that probably is true. In my case, I have no butt, so I get that. But
keep that in mind. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Oh my God.
Well, yeah, I just want to caution you one thing, Leslie. The images in the SEO world, that worked because it sees the images because of alt tags and things like that. In the AO world, it doesn't see that. So there's no delineation between those walls of text.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
I did not know that.
So you have to define like what that section is. What are they going to learn, right?
Is that
And
the
then-
reason that a lot of the results you get have a line between sections?
Yeah.
Interesting. I always take those out,
Yeah.
but I guess I'll leave them in.
Now, this is the part I think that you'll like the most: fresh, factual, non-hallucination or hallucination bait data. Okay. Hallucination, fresh, factual, non-hallucination bait data. Models downrank content that is vague, over-promising, and riddled with fuzzy claims like experts say, 4 out of 5 dentists, right? It'll just discard that because
Wow.
it's over hallucinating the reality. It just wants facts. Like if you know for a
I love
fact
that.
that at 10 a.m. this happens and you have data to prove it up, awesome. That would love that. So we want to provide real ranges, real numbers, real timelines, real examples. Don't be making stuff up. Real case scenarios. Loves that stuff. So fresh, factual, non-hallucination bait data. Boy,
Can you say that fast 3 times?
I can't. I can barely say it fast once, or I can barely say it slow once. So LLMs prefer content with anchor points, something quantifiable to latch onto. And that vague stuff just doesn't work.
That's interesting.
So for people,
I'm a data person, so I like that part.
now, this is the part that has, I would say this particular word has started to come into common for people who write a lot of content, which is schema markup. And this is kind of what they call the invisible superpower. And I just did this for a client yesterday. I built the schema markup and I embedded it into her website. And all of a sudden, it almost like it's like if somebody had a blood test and they put some dye in your blood, and all of a sudden it shows up on the screen. That's kind of what happened for her website. It was really kind of cool.
Wow.
So your blog needs an article schema. So if you're putting blogs up and you just assume everybody's going to be able to read it, it doesn't know what it is. So you have to have an article schema, an FAQ schema, a how-to. So if you do a lot of how-to content, you better have a schema for it when it's relevant. And then local business schema. This is one that almost everyone overlooks. And you need to have that link from your page because that helps identify to the LLMs, oh, they work in this particular area. Like it signifies it every time. And this is how LLMs verify who you are, what authority you have, what this page is about, and whether it should trust you. And the reason it matters, Leslie, is because structured data equals direct feed for AI crawlers. They don't have to struggle because the moment they struggle, they're out of there. They're out of there. They're worse than a high paid influencer. If it's not working, they're out of there. Okay.
What's this going to do to all the influencers? Come to think of it.
Well, they're going to have to do things differently. It doesn't mean and here's the other thing. I don't think it's going to eliminate them because here's the other thing. If let's say, for instance, hypothetically, let's say I am somebody who is very, very well known about construction and I become an influencer and you hire me to talk about your business. I bring in that expertise and authority, but now I attach it to your business or you attach me to your business. It actually adds more credibility. It could add more search strength, but you have to follow these rules. Here's one, and we kind of briefly talked about it. Internal linking to related topics. Remember I said your blogs can be a little shorter,
right?
But you could link it to another article that continues. So it's one pillar post, and we've done this forever. We built like one pillar post that sometimes is like 3,000 to 4,000 words long. Like if we're building it for you about absentee homeowner, it would be a huge article. But within that, there would be a lot of little hyperlinks that go off to all these other little articles that talk about, a follow the wall. Like we would in your main article, we would talk about it, but not in depth. But then it would link out to another article that took it in depth and showed the video. Or maybe
are you doing that already on my stuff?
Yeah.
I haven't seen any of the blogs that you guys have done.
Well, they're there. You just
where are they? Yeah. Are they on my website or
you have to go to your website and they're there under blog posts. So,
I'll go look at those because I know the ones that I create are there, but I didn't know the ones you create are there.
Yeah. They're there. Yeah, they're all there. Okay. So internal linking to related topics. And again, we say one pillar post, multiple related sub posts, and then back forth links. So in other words, let's say, for instance, I have the pillar post. It's like 3,500 words long. Talks about everything you do in your business. And then it links it out to, well, I also do this. In that article, guess what? I'm also linking back to the pillar post. So that is something that gives more credibility to your content. A lot of times we write one article and we just put it out there. And you don't even link to other things on your website. We work really hard to make sure we do that. And then when we're writing articles, can we go back and forth? That's really good. The LLMs see your site as a web of meaning. The more connections, more confidence, more citations. It means, hey, your depth of knowledge is not you're packed with keywords, but you really can show that you are an expert at what you do. Next to last, author identity and expertise signals. Have a byline. Like I know for you, you try not to identify you as the business. But I think it's important to consider, hey, you should have a byline in there. You should put some credentials or your role in there. Make sure you have your location, your company, your client niche. This doesn't have to be long. It just needs to exist, Leslie. And the reason it matters is models rank transparent authors higher than faceless content. Now, here's the other thing that really could give you some additional juice. Let's say we take this particular podcast and we turn it into a transcription and we put that out on your website and my website. It sees, and then we link back and forth to it. It sees the fact that even though you didn't talk about absentee homeownership, you're a freaking expert at what you do. And you can
Right.
take people really deep on that information. That's important to have that in there.
And we're doing all that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. A strong early in it. A strong early summary. And this is kind of cool. If you look at the blogs that we make for our clients, it's early on. LLM scan first, human skims first. Give both what they want. So as an example, here's a short answer. In Coachella Valley, homeowners should service their AC twice a year, once before the heat and once before the winter, due to seasonal cooling loads, and extreme summer temperatures. And then why that matters. LLMs often pull from the top 20% of the article for citations. So if you don't do this and you're just hoping that they get it in the body of the article, you're missing that, because all those search engines are getting most of their content they need from the top 20% of your article. That's why we have that at the very top when you open up an article. The last thing, semantic richness, not just keywords. Now I'm going to say this again, not just keywords. So use a variation of the model expects. It's like AC tune-up, HVAC inspection, cooling inspection, golf cart, EV cart, pest control, extermination, insect management. Like, I think that's beautiful when you talk about insect management. Yeah, I think that's cool, because you've now got a new term, phrase called, what is it? Fractional
state management.
Fractional state management. Well, now see how it starts tying that together. Like, I've never heard of it, so I'm not going to search for it. But I'm like looking for absentee homeowner, and then in that article, it teaches me about that. Oh, see, and now it starts bridging that gap, and it's semantic clusters. So the more of that you can do, it helps the model understand what you're talking about. Like, if you just started all of a sudden talking about fractional home ownership, and nobody's ever, like, you haven't defined it, you give it no relevance. It's like, man, this absentee home ownership, this is nothing. I'm going to pass.
Well, and that, just in that example, fractional home ownership means multiple owners of one property, like a timeshare.
Yep.
The fractional estate management is having an estate manager on a part-time basis. So we do have to make that distinction so that people will understand, which is why now we post into all our content the definition of fractional estate management, so people will learn it. But it's a new buzzword, new approach to that old service.
Well, if you think about this, you could use it to your benefit. Like, if you say, okay, good, this is something you made up. And just like when you made up absentee homeowner, right? Lifestyle management, nobody did that when you started.
Right.
But now the cool part is you said, okay, how can I distinguish myself? You could create a term or a piece that you want, and you could run with it as long as you properly define it and give it some content and context. You could actually own that, and no one else, when they say, well, do you do fractional estate management? No, we don't do that. Well, I'm looking for a fractional estate manager. Oh, but they're the same, right? They're the same, except you're distinguishing yourself.
Lots of people did absentee home, but they didn't call it that, right? They had housekeepers, or the pest control guy would go in and flush the toilets and call it a day. And that, what we do is so much more than that. So explaining that is key, right? That we have to explain it. And so I understand what you're saying. It's a little bit, I don't want to say obtuse, because I get what you're saying, but I can see where it would be overwhelming for a lot of people, because there's so much to it, which is kind of where you guys come in, with your content accelerator, that you guys understand. It's important that you understand how to do this, because more and more people are going to have to turn to companies like Swing Point Media, in order to leverage their visibility online, because it's dissolving, right? Episode 24 talked about that. That's when it first happened, right then, right? It was like the same week or something that we did that podcast about how the SEO model is passé already. And so most people are locked into that and don't understand that it's an issue.
And they're doubling down on that.
I know. And
right?
that's why during that whole episode, I'm like kind of in shock because it's a major undertaking to address the changes that you have to make to do this.
Yeah.
Now, I understand that you can take the existing content and repurpose it or tie it into AEO, which is important and necessary because you can't just start from, okay, I got to draw a line in the sand and say, okay, I got to go from here and start over because nobody wants to do that,
Yeah.
right? And I can envision that at some point the geniuses behind AI will come up with a way to automatically if it was SEO, it'll probably become AEO. Although I'm not sure that that's possible because so much of it is video and so much of it is SEO specific,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I'm not sure that if that's going to work, but
Yeah, I wrestle with my SEO guy on our team at Swingfoot Media on a consistent basis because it's almost like he is so ingrained in his world. He thinks, it's, the saying is, when you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Well,
right.
his answer is SEO. And I'll keep sending little things that I didn't write, but reinforce the fact that we want to do both. He is probably now doing both better than anybody, and honestly, anybody on the planet of doing both. And we're seeing really cool numbers because when everybody else's search dropped off 30-40%, ours continue to grow for our clients because we started doing this about 7-8 months ago, I guess now 8 months ago, and saying, let's start instituting AEO into everything we do. And it's made a big difference.
So should I be seeing an increase in open rates? Does that affect open rates? One of the things,
Open
like
rates in your email?
on my newsletter marketing, I have been, when I go to write the newsletter, I ask for a compelling title, quite often a question,
Yep.
to encourage or inspire somebody to read the content.
Yep.
Right? It's specifically designed to, like, you know what my number one newsletter was? It had the word poop in the title.
Here we are back to poop. I knew we'd get
It's
there.
always poop, right? So it had, I forget how exactly the title was worded, but it was about pest control or insect management. I like that. It was about pest control and being able to discern what kind of beetle or what kind of pest you had based on what they leave behind, right? But that title with the word poop in it, believe it or not, had the highest open rate I have ever had on an article, ever. And so I am fully aware that the title makes a big difference in what you in getting readers, open rates. But I don't know if AEO contributes to that or not.
Well, no, because your emails are not being searched by AEO. This is a human thing now. So one of the things, as an example, that can really improve open rates as high as 19% more open rate is at the end. If you have it, you can't put it on if you don't have it, but into parentheses, write the word video at the end. And that increases the open rate by 19%. Putting the person's first name or personalizing the open rate using merge tags. If you're not familiar with that, it just allows you to put their name in there. That also increases open rates because it feels like, because sometimes you'll joke with me is, did you send this to everybody or did you just send this to me? Well, I try to write it for one person, but I share it with many sometimes. So if you do those kinds, so my point is, no, AEO, the engines are not looking at your content or your email that you send to your database. No.
Okay. So we've been putting video in my newsletter, which then ends up in my blog. So that it will find, right?
Yep.
And they're all addressed individually automatically. I already do that.
Personalization.
I mean, I get a 39% open rate, which is, I don't know how that compares to anybody else. I wish it was higher. But it's still consistently at least, 39%. So I think that's pretty good. And I get a lot of feedback on my newsletter, a lot of really positive feedback. People that have been reading it for 20 years that don't even do business with me, that they just like the newsletter. So that's a good thing. But obviously I want to drive more traffic to my website and to my other content and to this podcast and to, all the things that we're doing. So I'm interested in how to better do that for sure. If we're already doing the best, then I'm fine. But
if you think about it, all the stuff we talked about, artificial intelligence has a high priority on that. Why? Because we have a high priority on that. So if you think about it, when you're making content of any kind, whether it's an email, newsletter, it doesn't matter. Am I using these 10 points in my newsletter? And is it really written in a way that is more compelling? Is it more specific? Am I breaking up the content? Am I doing those things I'm talking about? Because what it's doing is it's saying, artificial intelligence saying, okay, we want to make it the best it can for our client over here. SEO is really not doing it. Well, if we don't make that shift, shame on us. The 10 clues are right there.
But there's so many people out there, Jeff, that have no idea about this stuff. None. I mean, you and I do, because we talk about it all the time and it's your area of expertise. But the average, I mean, I talk to people all the time. Some of them are using chat for emails and occasionally a newsletter or something like that. But nobody, I haven't talked to anybody that's doing deep research or doing AI. What is it? What's the generator thing that's in there? To create like programs and whatnot. Nobody's doing that.
For your agent mode?
Yeah, agent mode. Nobody's doing that. In the general populace, people that I talk to on a daily basis, nobody's doing that. Because I talk to companies all over the country, and they're not doing that yet. Most of them, a few, but not very many.
Well, I just want to put here in our in our bar here, our banner, one quick, and I'll just end with this, that what we're talking about is whenever you're making content, and this can be very, very important with your newsletter as well that you send out, with the exception of structured and schema rich, the clear, local, structured, schema rich, author verified, factual, and semantic content. When you put that out there, think about, am I checking those boxes off, right? Am I making stuff up?
Define schema for people that don't know what that is.
Yeah, schema is basically, let me just go right here and I'll just read it right off of this, what schema is. Schema is basically taking your information and putting it into a structured. So in other words, FAQs, right? So an FAQ schema says, oh, when the engines look at that, they say, oh, they have FAQs. It's all packaged together that they can read. It's basically putting things in its own little container that we can easily see that, oh, the red box is this, the blue box is this. I'm not, otherwise it doesn't read it.
Okay. I just want to make sure everybody understood. I'm just a kid
from West Texas, so I'm making it real simple. Right? Yeah.
Yeah. And when you say semantic, which I know what semantics are, how do they apply in this context?
Yeah. In this context, let's go back down here again. For semantic, it's you're using different variations of your work. Like if you always say, well, I'm an HVAC repairman. I'm an HVAC repairman. I'm an HVAC repairman. Use some different terminologies. I repair HVAC in the Coachella Valley. I help people. In other words, give it some depth. And it helps because it's not just keywords. You're not just saying absentee home ownership, right? That's just a single keyword versus give it some richness, give it more legs, right? Put an engine in that car and tell us a little bit more about that.
That makes sense.
Okay. Yep. So that's really what I wanted. So now I'm going to go back and you may kick the legs out from underneath me, but can you see now how knowing your ideal client is so much different than when we first started. And what
Oh, yeah.
if I ask the average, I'm not kidding you, I asked the average business owner and or marketing person out there, what's one of the first things we should do? And they'll say, well, we need to know who our ideal client is. Who is that? And I guarantee you they'll go to the end user. It's not that anymore. It's the parent. It's the parent. In this case, it's it's LLMs.
This world's getting complicated. So if I were to say to you, I have somebody who wants to take advantage of all of this, but have not the first clue on how to start, what is your answer?
Well, I would say probably the best thing to do is I would invite you to go to my website at Swing Point Media, and that's our program, the Content Accelerator. But I would just go there and say, hey, consume some of my stuff, right? You could go to my website, or you could go to Leslie's website. Quite honestly, she's fairly new as a client. So I would say go to Swing Point Media and see how our content is made, because we walk our talk, right? If we drink our own Kool-Aid. and so look at how our structure is set up. Look at how everything's broken up. Look at our FAQ areas. Look at how we put the information in the top 20%, because we know that's where it's being grabbed. The only thing that you won't see yet, and we're working on it, is getting all the transcripts from podcasts and or videos, and we'll add that to it. I think honestly, my stomach gets queasy because I think it's absolutely going to blow it up. I think this is where if you're a small business owner and let's say hypothetically, let's say you're somebody, and everybody will get this if they're in the area we're at. Let's say you're just now starting to do solar installation, and the big dog in our area is Renova. Vince, I'm sorry. I don't mean to, not trying to blow you out of the water here, but if you did this and you did long form content, turned it into transcribed, and you put it on your website, I think in a very short period of time, you would have such, I'm going to call it authority in that marketplace, that you would be showing up everywhere. That's my take on it. That's why I'm doubling down on doing that, Leslie, for you and for all of our clients.
Well, yes, and I appreciate that. I one of the answers I was looking for, which is fine to go look at the website. No, it's fine. I want him to say, go to Swing Point Media, because the Content Accelerator, which is basically a tool that you use to auto create the content for a company and post it so that they don't have to think about this stuff. They can get the benefit of it for a very affordable monthly commitment and not have to deal with this at all or think about it. You can still use Chat or Grok or whatever for the things you do daily in your business. But as far as your content is concerned, and making sure that you have the AEO that you need, and the structure and the schema and all of that stuff, Jeff can do using the Content Accelerator. And I don't know why I'm using it. I use it for both my businesses. I mean, it's silly not to, because it's very, very affordable for, and I don't care how small you are, it's still affordable, So if this is truly the wave of the future, and I believe it is, and if this is truly the way to get visible in this new AI world, and which I believe it is, and if it's truly could put you in the forefront of your industry before other people get onto this, and I believe it is, then the Content Accelerator is the most efficient, cost-effective way to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just no, and I'm not just pitching that because it's yours, Jeff. I mean, there just is nobody else doing what you're doing. And I want the whole world to know we need to get it out there as soon as possible.
Thank you. Well, here's the coolest thing. First of all, thank you so much for that. It's very, very nice. I appreciate that. It's just how we rehearsed it. So thank you.
We didn't rehearse that.
But here's the coolest part about this, Leslie. If somebody embarks on this trail and we find out a year later that AE means nothing, it'll improve your SEO as well, because this is not like, oh, it'll only work for artificial intelligence. It'll only make your SEO better. Right. So while you're doing this, you're doubling up. Like, you're down here trying to build the AEO, and you're right here in SEO. This is what happens. Yeah. They both get better. Right. Yeah. So I'm saying if the other one is just baloney, And all of a sudden, we get, what's the thing of Skynet comes over and we no longer even have the internet. It won't matter anyway, but it'll be good for your business anyhow. So yeah.
Yeah. It's the fastest brand builder out there. I mean,
Yeah.
it's really a good tool, guys. I encourage you to use it because, the more you use it, the less he charges me. No, that's not true.
Well, here's the thing. I'll just give you a real quick 30 seconds. What we
Right.
do is every week it writes you a blog that's optimized for SEO and AEO, does the images, the whole thing. It writes a script for a video that supports the blog. It creates the video using artificial intelligence. Then it creates social media posts. We put 5 days a week on 4 different platforms. So 20 different posts. It's written specifically for that because each one's a little different. And then all of that is done every week. And so now all that stuff is done. Now here's what I do. I'm kind of like a tinkerer in the lab. Is when like I discover something like I said today about, hey, I didn't discover it, but I realized this is what we can do. When podcasts and videos are not being read, then I'm playing with the idea of, well, what if I built that into the content accelerator? So when the video comes down the line, it strips out, it actually transcribes the video. So it automatically goes in a blog post. I'm thinking that way. Right now, I may do it manually a little bit, but I think down the road, when that happens, it happens dynamically. I mean, every client I have will get the same benefit. So keep that in mind. And so that's all I got. Leslie, thank you so much. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Send me the at least the page that has the steps on it, the things, so that I can reevaluate my newsletters because, I'm constantly trying to improve, and I want to make sure I'm formatted properly to give you the best opportunity for success too. Just for your knowledge, he creates most all of my content, but I do write my own newsletters, and then he optimizes those for AEO also. He's probably going, God dang it, this is so bad. I don't know, but he's optimizing them for me. And then he turns them into videos too, which is fun. And now he's going to turn them into text basically, so he can go even farther. So I was just like, the possibilities of this stuff is endless. It's so fun.
It's like driving a car. It's like driving a car across the country in the dark. Every time you go, you get to see a little further. You can't see the end yet, but you get to see a little further. And that today I got to see a little further. So I shared that.
Yeah, it's fun. All right.
Thank you, Leslie.
You're welcome. I love it.
All right, guys, we'll see you on the next episode of the Twisted, where's it at? Twisted, Bent, and Exhausted Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm Jeff Harrison. We'll see you next week. Have a safe and happy. And if it's a holiday when you're watching this or it's coming around, hey, have a happy holiday, and we'll see you soon.
Bye, you guys.